A UNC meteorology professor is headed to Antarctica after the fall semester for an expedition of a lifetime.
Plus, we have the scoop on what happened this summer when a favorite campus coffee shop completely vanished. This is Bear News.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Ashley Franco.
And I'm Tanner Schwint. As new and returning students flood the university, it's important to know how to stay safe on campus. UNC police sent an email that laid out some safety tips for the beginning of the school year. The email contains information about alcohol. It advises people to stay in small groups at parties and look out for each other, and gives safety tips such as locking your car and using a U-shaped lock for bikes. Chief of Police Dennis Pumphrey said he wants people to be safe. Greeley is safe, but there are things students can do to make sure they don't fall victim to alcohol or property crimes.
The sooner you can start thinking about basic safety steps you can take in order to make yourself more secure in both your property and your personal well-being, I think the better off you're going to be.
The chief says to always be appreciative of friends who look out for you. The important thing is to be aware of your surroundings. If you see something, say something, and know how to keep yourself safe.
Every 10 years, the United States government conducts a census that attempts to count every person living in the country. States are allotted seats in the U.S. House of Representatives based on their population as reported in that census. So, if a state gains enough population, it gets another House seat. On the other hand, if a state loses enough population, it loses a House seat. When the number of seats a state receives changes, it has to draw new legislative districts. And those redistricting plans generate a lot of political heat. This week, Bear News reporter Dalton Lanik is live in the studio to tell us about 2 Colorado ballot measures that are designed to take some of that heat out of redistricting in Colorado.
That's right, Colorado. Colorado voters have the chance to take redrawing congressional and state legislative district maps out of the Colorado State Legislature's hands. There are 2 constitutional amendments here, both referred by the Colorado General Assembly. Amendment Y would create a 12-member commission that would have to approve all district maps for Colorado's U.S. congressional districts. And Amendment Z would create a similar body for state legislative district maps. Each commission would include 4 members from each of the state's 2 largest political parties, plus 4 members who are not affiliated with any political party. Each district would have to be a competitive term as defined as having a reasonable potential to change parties at least once every 10 years. Once complete, the Colorado Supreme Court would have to approve the maps. And the amendments say that once the maps are approved by the Commission and the Colorado Supreme Court, they wouldn't be subject to legislative approval, governor's veto, or veto referendum petitions. To serve on one of the commissions, a person couldn't have been a candidate for federal or state elective office within the past 5 years, have been a local state or federal elected official for the past 3 years, be an employee of a political party, or be a lobbyist at any level within the past 3 years. Members would also have to be registered to vote and have voted in the past 2 general elections.
Now, Colorado isn't the only state with congressional or state legislative redistricting measures on the ballot this fall. Michigan and Missouri and Utah voters will also decide the fate of such measures. Join us next week when we take a look at who is running for state and federal political offices. While most of us will be with our families on New Year's Eve, one UNC professor has plans to ring in the new year in Antarctica. As Bear News reporter Tim Page tells us, it's an effort to promote women in science.
UNC professor Cindy Shelito is going south for the winter.
So the trip to Antarctica is the culmination of this program, and it involves a 3-week trip to the Antarctic Peninsula from the city of Ushuaia in Argentina. Okay. And so all of us are meeting on the ship, and where we have, we continue our professional development, and we also have a symposium, a science symposium at sea, and share our scientific work and develop new collaborations and educational projects.
She's down there with a group of female scientists to study climate change.
The trip is part of a year-long professional development initiative that was created to support women in science, technology, engineering, math, and medicine. So it's women in STEM. And the program was designed to help women build their leadership capability, to bring more women to the leadership table, and have some influence when it comes to developing policy and making strategic decisions about how we're going to live our lives on this planet in the future, given changes that are occurring.
And she's excited not only to study with this group, but also to see one of the most remote continents on the planet.
Excited about meeting these other women scientists from around the world and developing some new collaborations. But I am excited about going to Antarctica and the wildlife, to see the ice, to see a place that's really sensitive to temperature and climate change. So the Antarctic Peninsula is a really sensitive place. In fact, we think that in another 50 to 60 years, there might not be much ice left there. So that means lots of changes in the ecology and the types of wildlife that you find there.
This program she's a part of includes not just Americans, but people from all over the world.
Applied for the program, so we had an application process, and I was selected to participate. And there's about 80 women from around the world too. It's being organized out through a group in Australia, but women are coming from 18 different countries, I believe, in my group.
And if you're worried about her being cold, don't worry. She'll be experiencing the same temperatures that we are in Colorado.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be there over an Antarctic winter. So I'll be there during the summertime, the Antarctic summer, which is our winter. And I think the temperatures where I'll be will be similar to what we experience here in January, so 40 degrees, 35 to 40 degrees. Fortunately, I'll be there when they're getting a little bit of light, and it'll be a little bit warmer.
For Bear News, I'm Timothy Page.
Professor Shellito will miss the first couple weeks of spring semester, but returns to teaching when she gets back.
Speaking of meteorologists, let's get a first check of the weather with meteorologist Abigail Stewart. Abigail, this week felt like summer than fall. Will we see a cool down anytime soon?
It has been a very hot past couple of days, and we're only going to see this trend continue into the weekend. Right now, sunny skies and 94 degrees here on campus. We have a very active satellite image today with Hurricane Florence sitting right off the coast of North Carolina and some active wildfires in Utah and Colorado. Now, the Colorado wildfire that is currently burning in Fort Collins was started on Tuesday and is currently 25% contained. So if you see some smoke and haze in the atmosphere over the next few days, that could be due to this fire burning in our neighboring county. I'll have more on your Greeley forecast and more about Hurricane Florence coming up.
Wondering where your favorite coffee shop on campus went? Bears Mojo might be closed, but Dalton Lannick is still asking, where's Mojo?
Hello, UNC. I did not buy this at Bears Mojo. As you can see behind me, what was once a Starbucks and then Bears Mojo has now been canvassed off since spring of last year, and I'm here asking students what they want to see go in this spot next, or if they want to see Bears Mojo return. So Francis, when did you first notice that Bears Mojo was gone?
I pretty much noticed it right when the semester started. I was walking through the UC and I was like, oh, Mojo's gone. So, I mean, I didn't really see any announcement or anything kind of beforehand, so I was like pretty surprised.
And how much did you go when it was open?
Pretty regularly. I would always get my just regular cup of coffee here, nothing extravagant. Yeah, it's just a shame to see it gone. Einstein's is here, but Mojo's is always better.
And what would you like to see replace this space?
Honestly, I really miss the Taco Bell that used to be here, so like we can like move it down. We can have a Taco Bell here, and I would be perfectly happy.
And why do you want Taco Bell?
Because Taco Bell's good. And honestly, more food options here in the UC is always better. Other than Bear's Bistro and Munchie Mart, I think Taco Bell would be a good addition.
So what would you like to see go in the spot where Bears Mojo was once?
I want them to sell cookies. I want Mojo's back.
For Bear News, I'm Dalton Lannick.
Dining Services Director Hal Brown says that Bears Mojo is being rolled into the new Pie Cafe, which opens up in the campus commons in the spring of 2019. Pie Cafe will serve coffee, and you guessed it, pies. Brown hopes that Einstein's will move into Bears Mojo's old spot to alleviate some of the foot traffic during the morning rush and spread out UNC's coffee shops a little.
Right now, he doesn't know what will fill the vacant spot in the UC, but he'd like to hear from students about what they'd like, or if they have any comments or suggestions for dining services as a whole.
Now, if you want to make your feelings known, you can send those questions to dining services at unco.edu.
Coming up after the break, UNC professor Dr. Stephen Mackesy is researching ways to cure cancer, but his research subject bites back.
And UNC students take on different countries to study abroad. We'll tell you how you can join them coming up. Stay with us.
All right, give me a spot. You know my motto, safety first.
They could be dangerous. I think we should call animal control.
Animal control?
To be safe.
Don't worry.
Just...
I got this. It's a new motto.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Here's your check.
Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Hey, God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
One UNC professor is studying a cure for cancer in an unusual way. This week, I sat down with Dr. Stephen Mackesy to talk about his research and how he's trying to find a cure for cancer using none other than snake venom. Stephen Mackesy has spent decades studying all kinds of snakes.
I was working at companies that supplied zoos and schools with snakes and other reptiles and amphibians from all over the world.
Recently, he decided to focus his research on their venom. Venom that could possibly cure cancer.
Using natural sources like venoms and purifying some of the components, some of the toxins, and asking the question, can we use this as a potential therapeutic, is really our interesting part of this story and our involvement in cancer research.
Mackesy and his team can grow cancer cells in their lab and treat them with a venom compound. As odd as it may seem, snake venom has special compounds, which could help cure many different types of cancer.
Some of the compounds in snake venoms have been shown to minimize the capacity of cancer cells and tumors to metastasize and move about the body like that. And so that's an area that we've been looking at.
Mackesy, with the help of a few graduate students, intensely study the snakes and work with them daily. For some people, working with snakes is something they would never do. Mackesy wants to let people know that while there might be a negative stereotype surrounding these animals, they are harmless as long as you keep your distance.
They're a dangerous animal up close, but if you're 5 feet away, you're way beyond striking range for a rattlesnake, and so you're essentially safe. Now, most people, 5 feet is not a far enough comfort zone for them. So standing farther away is a good idea as well.
Reporting from Ross Hall, Ashley Franco, Bear News. Dr. Mackesy plans to continue his research with those snakes in order to find just what he's looking for.
Studying abroad looks different in everybody's mind. Some think of waking up in an English cottage, and others see themselves on a farm in Australia. Whatever that picture might look like, the UNC Study Abroad program looks to help students every step along the way. The university has a number of resources in place, and all those resources were on display at the Study Abroad Fair last Thursday on the East Michener lawn. Among the most helpful resources are peer advisors to help students through the entire process. Many of those peer advisors are students who have previously studied abroad. Peer advisors do everything from answering questions about their own experiences to helping with applications. UNC also offers national student exchanges and financing options. For more information, visit their office at the University Center. Fridays at UNC have a new look, and this new look comes with something extra. Every Friday, Bears alumni, faculty, and staff are encouraged to wear their best blue and gold to show their Bear pride. You'll find the athletics department hanging around on campus Fridays to give out prizes to those repping their school colors. Make sure to tag UNC and the athletic department in your social media posts to be entered into a drawing for a UNC prize pack. They'll pick a winner at the end of each week. We want to see you paint the campus blue and gold, so make sure to show your support.
After the break, Abigail will have a full look at your weather forecast and an update on the major hurricane forcing thousands to evacuate. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. As a parent, you want to make sure that your child knows how to deal with bullying when they see it happening. And chances are they want to help, but they don't really know how. Well, teach them that the best thing to do is calmly walk away, find a teacher or other adult, and speak up. And do your part. Be that adult they can talk to and trust will listen. Join me to help stop bullying. Go to stopbullying.gov to find out more.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
Welcome back. I'm meteorologist Abigail Stewart. Right now in Greeley, we're sitting at around 94 degrees with the Front Range sitting at 90 degrees. The Central Plains are seeing temperatures in the 80s and high 70s. Tomorrow here in Greeley, we'll see a high of 92 degrees with a temperature of 56 by 8 a.m., warming up to 72 by 10 a.m. So you can bet that you will not need your jacket by lunchtime. Now, the main story this week is the high pressure systems over Colorado and over the Mississippi Valley. So our high pressure system here towards the Four Corners region is helping keep Colorado hot and also the clouds away. Here in the Mississippi Valley and towards the Great Lakes region, these high pressure systems are actually helping create this stationary front that Hurricane Florence is going to have to interact with as it moves inland towards North Carolina. Now, we saw a similar setup with Hurricane Harvey when it made landfall last year in Texas, where a stationary front was set up which caused the hurricane to stall over land and produce massive flooding for many coastal areas of Texas. Now, we're also looking at devastating flooding with this storm, and also high winds and some brief tornadoes are possible over the next few days. Hurricane Florence is currently our only named hurricane in the Atlantic, although we do have 3 other tropical storms that have been named and identified at this time. They have not yet reached hurricane status. Hurricane Florence right now is a Category 2 storm, which is down from its Category 4 rating a few days ago. Right now, sustained winds are 105 miles per hour, and it's moving inland at 10 miles an hour. Here is the current cone of uncertainty produced by the National Hurricane Center. Now they're thinking that the hurricane is going to make landfall tomorrow at 8 a.m. in North Carolina and then move inland towards South Carolina, where it will soon become a tropical depression by 8 a.m. Sunday before it turns and moves towards the northeast. Bringing it back to Greeley, we're going to continue to see those warm temperatures throughout the week. We're going to see a high of 92 tomorrow with sunny skies and continuing the 90s till Monday, bringing in those clouds for Sunday. On Tuesday, we're going to start to see 80-degree temperatures and finally cool down to around 70 for Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So this is going to be a great weekend for if you've got any plans outside, because these temperatures are going to be warm and it's going to be sunny. So definitely enjoy it while it lasts. Back to you.
Thanks, Abigail. UNC's women's soccer team had an exciting comeback this past week and had one of their very own honored as a top player in the country.
Broncos season kicked off with a close win against the Seattle Seahawks. Ben Shumate will have all of the highlights coming up in sports.
Kids will spend 8 minutes decorating their little brother.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
The UNC's women's soccer team battled back from an early goal and won their game against Grand Canyon University Friday night. Grand Canyon got out to a fast start, scoring a goal within the first 8 minutes of the game. But UNC struck back quickly in the 11th minute with a goal from Taylor Bray to tie it at 1. The scoring resumed late in the second half when Mariel Gutierrez cut through the defense and beat the keeper to take a 2-1 lead over Grand Canyon with 17 minutes remaining. The Bears rode out the clock to their 2-1 lead with their 2-1 lead intact and came their second consecutive win. After the game, Gutierrez talked about the win and how it feels to be one of the top 100 players in the country.
I mean, it is honestly like such an honor to be recognized as top 100. There's thousands and thousands of players out there, so to be recognized as one of the top 100 is honestly just an honor, and you know, it only makes you want to work harder and get better.
The Bears play at 7 p.m. today at Jackson Field against the Southern Methodist University Mustangs. The UNC women's volleyball team looked convincing in the 3 matches they played last weekend. The Bears ended up winning 2 of the 3, losing only to San Jose State. The team started off the weekend suffering a crushing 3-set sweep, but battled back to win against Pacific and Alabama State. Against Pacific, the Bears started fast, but the Tigers came back with force and forced a 4th set that ended up going Pacific's way. The Bears came back in the 2nd set, finally winning thanks to a couple of late set kills from Taylor Muff and Brittany Lawrence. That evened the match at 1-1. The Bears won the next 2 sets in dramatic fashion, demolishing the Tigers 25-11 in the 3rd and barely tallying a 25-22 win in the 4th. The Bears turned the tide and finished the weekend off with a 3-set sweep of their own against Alabama State Hornets Saturday afternoon. The first set got off to a close start and continued back and forth before UNC closed it out 29-27. The second set saw Alabama State get out to an early lead, only to be reeled back in by Courtney Lockie and the Bears on their way to winning the set 25-19. Their third set broke the mold as UNC scored 11 points I'm just having trouble reading. They won that third set 25-8. Courtney Lockie led the Bears with 16 kills and now just is 2 kills away from having 1,000 career kills at UNC. Kendall Dether led the team in assists with 40, and both Lockie and Taylor Ells led the team in digs with 11. The team was supposed to head to Virginia for a matchup against Radford, but due to weather from Hurricane Florence, the team will stay home this week. Another week for the University of Northern Colorado football team spelled another loss to a top 25 opponent. This one came at the hands of number 23 South Dakota, 43-28. The Bears kept up with the Coyotes early, matching 2 first-quarter touchdowns to head into the second quarter, tied at 14. But that was when South Dakota started to pull away. A Jacob Knipp interception set the tone early, and South Dakota quarterback Austin Simmons made the Bears pay with a trio of touchdowns in the quarter. Neither team was able to muster anything in the third, but UNC quickly changed that, scoring on its first play of the 4th. Another Knipp touchdown, this one to Alex Wesley, brought the Bears within 6 at 34-28 with just under 8 minutes left. The Bears had one more chance, but a fumble on a kickoff return sealed their fate. UNC looks to bounce back against Sacramento State Saturday at 2 p.m. at Nottingham Field. As I was driving home last night, listening to the Rockies lose, I got ready to write a story about them slipping in the National League West standings. Got home, parked my car, went inside, and turned on the TV to find that the Rockies had won. What happened? Well, DJ LeMahieu happened. He is the Rockies' latest hero, hitting a 2-run home run to beat Arizona Diamondbacks 5-4. It was also his first walk-off home run in the majors. That win gave the Rockies their 80th win of the season and their 8th in the month of September, marking them 8-3 in the most important month of the season. Well, today's game came and the Rockies won again, this time 10-3, making that 81 wins and 9 in the month of September. And now I will apologize because the next few slides will be a little out of date, but just add 1 win to the Rockies totals. The Rockies are still in first place in their division, but the quest to be the best in the West is not over, as the Rockies' lead still sits at a 1.5 games over the Dodgers. Well, 2.5 games now. 2 games, actually. In the Rockies' season full of history, the Rocks shortstop Trevor Story made history of his own. He's the first shortstop in Major League Baseball history to hit 30 home runs, 40 doubles, and steal 25 bases all in the same season. The Rockies next go to San Francisco for a 3-game set against the Giants before heading to Los Angeles for a crucial series against the Dodgers. And if the old adage that defense wins championships is true, then the Denver Broncos have as good a chance as anybody this year. The Denver D held the Seattle Seahawks to just 362 total yards in their 27-24 win in Denver on Sunday. That number becomes a lot more impressive when you realize that the new Broncos quarterback, Case Keenum, threw 3 interceptions. Those 3 interceptions didn't ruin Keenum's Broncos debut, however. Despite the picks, he threw for 329 yards and 3 touchdowns for a 64.1% completage. That was a weird word I just said. The defense had 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, and forced 2 fumbles. And who anchored the defense? Why, Von Miller, of course. He had 3 of those sacks the Broncos rookies made their voices heard early, with first-round draft pick Bradley Chubb recording half a sack and undrafted CU free agent Philip Lindsay rushing for 71 yards and a touchdown. The Broncos take on AFC West rival Oakland in Denver at 2:25 p.m.
Now, we didn't hear about him until late in the first quarter, but Von Miller definitely came back with those 3 sacks and proved that he's back. He's back for the season.
Very much so.
Early on, Broncos fans had to be a little bit worried. Case Keenum, 3 picks. He's got to clean that up because they got an important one with the Raiders come Sunday, so we'll see what they can do with that defense. They should be all right.
Yeah, the defense is going to be amazing, but I'm pulling for Keenum. He might be a backup on one of my fantasy teams, but biases aside, I'm really pulling for him this season.
I think that all Broncos fans are pulling for Keenum. Remember, Bear News is your on-campus source for all things UNC.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.